everyone in the listening audience. This is Elaine Tatum with the Better Decisions podcast. I am with the David Siddons Group. I am a territory expert in the Fort Lauderdale area, and our podcast is designed to educate the audience on how to make a better decision when buying or selling your real estate. Today, I'm excited to discuss what is going on in the insurance industry for yachts. And this is very important because we have the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show coming up. Last year, the boat show brought in $1.79 billion worth of industry business into our area. There were over 100,000 attendees to the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show with 1,000 exhibitors and over 1,300 watercraft on display. So this is obviously where a lot of boat trading occurs. And because of this, many people need to figure out what they're going to do with their boat after they make that purchase. So I am very excited to introduce my guest today. She is not only considered maritime royalty, but she is a fifth-generation Floridian and actually grew up in a shipyard in Miami. Not just any shipyard, it was the first in South Florida. Her family also was part of the very first maritime insurance industry for the entire world. And so this was very exciting. Her career in yacht insurance in all aspects of this particular industry spans over 30 years. She has extensive global network of partners. She has the ability to assist clients in custom coverages for their vessels. And we happened to meet at a Super Yacht Association gathering. Do I have you hooked yet? Well, it's time for me to introduce you, and it is my pleasure for you to meet Laura Sherrod with Newcoast Insurance. Wow. Hi, Laura. Thanks for joining me today.
That is such a lovely introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it's so nice to be here with you, and I love learning about what you do and just talking about in yachts and insurance as well. But it's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. As we were visiting off camera, obviously coming into this, and I might have confessed, but prior to coming into this, I had no concept about yachting insurance or really what was up with that. And I am a self-professed expert when it comes to finding houses for people that have purchased their yachts at the boat show. So I am really excited to find out what they're supposed to do in taking their next steps. But before we get to that, I want to find out a little bit about the history of your family and how you came to be in this particular industry.
Oh, well, thank you. I started, my mother's side of the family was the Merrills in the Merrill Stevens shipyard. And many years ago, there was a shipyard in Coconut Grove, and as well the main shipyard on the Miami River.
Okay.
And so it was a wonderful place that old Miamians will remember, because it was where you took your boat whenever
anything happened, it went to this shipyard.
Absolutely. And so
you grew up at the shipyard.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. My father ran the Coconut Grove facility, and so my grandfather ran the shipyard on the Miami River for 50 years. And
RMK Merrill Shipyard.
So RMK is Rami Koch, who is the current owner and the richest man in Turkey.
Okay.
And he decided that he wanted to have a shipyard here. He has several shipyards in Turkey that he owns. I think he has like 80,000 employees worldwide.
Merrill is your family name.
Yes.
And RMK came in, but that is the original location of where your family shipyard was, what is now right in the heart of downtown Brickell, Miami.
But down on the river, yes, right near Jackson Memorial Hospital and that whole area. And the Miami River has changed dramatically. My mother tells stories about swimming in the river.
Oh, you would never do that now.
Not so much. But Miami has a wonderful yachting history. Mm-hmm. And that was some of what I was thinking about us getting together today. I was thinking about For example, Fisher Island. Fisher Island was built by the Vanderbilts.
Yep.
And the Commodore Vanderbilt, which was, I think he brought Alva here. Alva was his yacht.
It was a trade, wasn't it? The land for the boat and the boat for they traded.
Oh, it could be. I don't know that part of the story, but I know Merrill Stevens used to service the yacht when it would come to stay, and my grandfather became friends with Commodore Vanderbilt. This is one of those stories I'm going to tell, okay? So Vanderbilt was very interested in documenting the fish of the sea, just like Audubon had been documenting the birds.
Okay.
But you can't bring a fish up and get the same color that you can when you're down in the water. So my grandfather designed and built a bathysphere at Corning in Ohio, made out of glass, and they would literally unscrew it, and they would put an artist into the bathysphere and send it down into the ocean, and he would draw the fish.
This is amazing.
And I believe those pictures are at the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina.
Well, I introduced you as maritime royalty, and that just flows with that storyline there. But you grew up around, obviously, yachts, the boating industry, men knowing everything, repair and all of that maintenance. How did you come to be in the insurance aspect of this particular business?
So my father purchased an agency called C.A. Hansen. C.A. Hansen was the oldest yacht insurance specialty agency in the world, founded in 1931 by a guy named Chris Hansen. And yacht insurance was fairly new because yachting was very exclusive, and there were very few families that could own a boat or yacht. And so he started in 1931. He built it started in New York. He had an office in Annapolis because that was a very big sailing area. And then he had an office in Miami. So my dad brought me into the business in the 80s. I was like 12. You
were a baby, yes.
Yeah. And then I worked at Lloyd's as a broker, and then I came and started working for the agency. But what's so interesting to me, and still today, is how small a world it is and how interesting it is as far as yachts. So, I mean, I still have clients that are the granddaughters of people that were in the industry or, were captains or owners going back in history.
Well, the yachting industry as an industry really is fairly young, as we had discussed. So I know that, the first shipyard, which was your family shipyard, started, I think, in 1867, where it was established there at the Miami River. And then from then on, up until you all getting into the insurance business was in 1931,
right,
where people were wanting to protect their investments in their yachts. And then it just kind of took off from there. So timeline-wise, you jumped into the business with your family in 1987.
Yeah.
So kind of 4 generations on up. And now you're still leading the charge and have watched this industry grow, change, and develop through all of these generations. So, and you have generational buyers as well. So
true. So I think the main reason for the business to take off the way it has in yachting is fiberglass, because vessels were either built from steel or wood, and wood rots, and steel's expensive. So when fiberglass was introduced in the 1960s, they didn't know how strong it was. They would build 3-inch fiber hulls, when today, obviously, they don't. So those boats are still around. Those Bertrams that were built, the Hatteras, that they built in the original. And it became affordable for people, for individuals to get into yachting. So what's interesting
So it was no longer an elitist pursuit. It became more for the everyday man.
Exactly.
The entry-level price point became affordable.
So
Interesting.
I have a great statistic for you, because I try and compare the difference between boating and yachting to people in my own business. And they don't even realize how different it is. So guess how many boats there are in the United States?
50,000.
There's 10 million.
Oh my
gosh. Now, that includes kayaks and you know, jet skis and everything. 10 million. But guess how many yachts there are in the world? And yachts being defined as 24 meters and above, which is really almost 100 feet. It's like 98 feet.
So what's the number?
How many yachts in the world?
I'm going to stick with my 50,000.
8,184.
Okay.
So a yachting experience is completely different than a boating experience. And you can call yourself a yacht, but really, when you're getting into, I don't know if you can see this boat,
yachts
but
over
that's
100.
a nice yacht.
So, and I know, and Fort Lauderdale is considered the yachting capital of the world, and the home of the more super yachts than anywhere else in the world. We have a lot of the world. We're the biggest in the world in Fort Lauderdale, but so only 8,000 around the globe. Okay,
right, and that shows how important Fort Lauderdale is, because you will go to Bahia Mar or someplace in Fort Lauderdale, and you'll see a number of 100-footer plus boats on a regular basis.
Well, I'm very super excited because we are going to be welcoming more of those 100-foot vessels here to the Fort Lauderdale area with the introduction of Pier 66 is finishing out their entire marina. We have the South Fork Marina, and Las Olas Marina is going to be coming on board, and they're going to be housing the capability up to 250 feet. So I think that we're really establishing ourselves in the world and hanging on to our titles as the world's capital for that.
Absolutely. The network of service personnel in this area is just unparalleled.
On a side note, we started out Miami really was the home and the birthplace of the yachting industry, and that's where your family was there on the Miami River with the first shipyard. So really, they had the capability of grabbing this multi-billion-dollar industry. But tell the audience what happened.
Right. So the city commissioners didn't much like the whole yachting, and they started a taxation process that drove the business out of Dade County. And so what happened, surprisingly, was that they left. And they came to Fort Lauderdale. They found a lot of available dockage. It starts to build on itself. Communities start to be created. And in the 60s and 70s is when Fort Lauderdale really started to take off. And it blossomed as far as... So there's really only two places in the world that matter as far as yachting. Fort Lauderdale and Monaco.
Love that. So come to Fort Lauderdale. Well, we have over 165 miles of navigable waterways, bordered on both sides. So essentially 300 miles of waterfront homes and real estate, which you can purchase. So we are definitely the ones to call when you do purchase that yacht and want to bring it home. We can find a place for you. But there are other considerations when you purchase that yacht, and I know that's your specialty. So you've just gone to the boat show or you've purchased. What are the first considerations that these new boat owners need to make when they bring home their yacht?
So the advent of COVID has been absolutely stunning on how many first-timers we have had in this industry. And a first-timer buying a 30 or 40-footer, maybe you can understand. But these are first-timers
like cocktail cruiser type of vessel, right?
Right. But these are people buying multi-million-dollar boats for the first time.
Oh, no.
And just that same attitude is what underwriters say. Is like, wait a minute. Do you have an idea of what you're getting into here? And yacht management has been a huge aspect of that. Yacht managers, they look at they get hired by the owner. They provide understanding as far as how to pay, what licensing requirements the vessel may have, crewing. I'll tell you a funny story about crewing. If
love your stories. Go ahead.
All right. This is a true story. My father and Mr. Kirtland, who was also the president of Merrill Stevens at the time, a vessel came into the University of Miami donation foundation, and it was a 1945 110-foot Fairmile, and this was in 1968, by the way.
Okay.
And it was sold by the University of Miami to those two fellows, my father and Fred Kirtland, for $100,000. My father and Mr. Kirtland didn't have $100,000, so they said, we've got to charter this thing. So they get a captain, and the captain is Captain Tom. He's very qualified. He was a former Navy captain. He's also an engineer. Only problem was he had braces on his legs. He was a paraplegic. Although he could move around and he could get from the
story's
helm,
going somewhere, right?
he could get from the helm down into the engine room because they built him a station where he could actually, it was like a little elevator that he could get from the helm of the boat down into the engine room. So you got a 110-foot boat. You need a captain, but you also need a mate. So they got a very, very qualified mate, Kenny.
To help Tom.
To help Captain Tom. But Kenny was legally blind. So... So I'm not making this
For
up.
all you new boat owners out there, these are things you do not do.
So they had a paraplegic captain and a blind first mate chartering the heck out of the boat in Biscayne Bay, and they actually had the Republican National Convention on board the yacht when they were here during 1968. So, and some other really funny charters, like for the space shot, they would go up to the Kennedy Space Center.
What a crew. Well, yeah. So obviously having a crew, having access to the knowledge of how to get a crew and all of that, and just basically getting down to the insurance aspects, where you're going to house your yacht. And I know a hurricane plan, especially in South Florida, is super important. It's critical.
Yes. Don't listen to me on how to hire crew, because I obviously don't know that. But I do know there are crewing agencies, Northrop and Johnson. We're blessed to be in their space right now. There are organizations that provide the service, and they do it exceptionally well. You want the crew to be like family, because you're spending a lot of time with them if you're enjoying your boat. So crew is a very important part. As far as what you mentioned, and I'm going back to hurricane plan. Hurricane plan also has to do with crew, because it's so integral that you make sure that you're ahead of the game. You know, you can't plan for a storm when the storm's coming. You have to have already made your plan. You have to already know, okay, here's where we're going. This is what we're doing. Is having your hurricane plan that you're discussing right now, isn't that part of the insurance process, where in order the underwriter or whatever needs to see that you have a plan for your vessel? Yes. So the aspects of an insurance contract between the owner and the insurance company have a lot of different requirements, one of which is the boat has to be seaworthy. The boat that you're looking at has to meet certain guidelines, and that includes, you know, the engines, the maintenance, operationally. You have to actually keep your boat to a certain standard. Now, that's not true with a homeowner's policy, because your home doesn't go anywhere. Well, I know that is, I mean, when the hurricane is coming, there are discounts given for additional hurricane preparedness, such as the quality of the roof, the quality of the glazing, which would be the windows around the home, making sure that your home is fortified against the storm, and you would be able to get discounts. So that's part of a homeowner's purchase, you know, that you want to look for. But you were right, when you're buying a boat, it's movable, but it's also on the water. So it's I think more vulnerable to the wind effects and the sea level rises and the inundation, the surge that can come in. And so having the proper plan is good. Just from a story from me, we had a 60-foot hatteras down in Coconut Grove, and as part of our hurricane plan, the captain would show up when the cone would appear. So you get advance notice, and once you're in the cone, the captain would show up to move our vessel, and we called it upriver. So from Coconut Grove down in Miami, we would bring our vessel all the way up the new river here in Fort Lauderdale, right here to the Marine Center shipyard where we are, to be
safe for during the storm, and that was part of our hurricane preparedness plan. But I think it was something that he had to do. We didn't have a choice. We had to have the captain on call and ready to go at a moment's notice if there was a hurricane. And hurricane season, for our listening audience, they may not know if you're not from Florida, you have to have this plan in place from June all the way through November on any given year.
Right, right. It's a long season. And August, September, obviously being the hottest months as far as hurricanes are concerned. But we hope that they don't happen this year.
We're always hopeful. And as Floridians, we're always afraid to even mention the word, but it is such an important topic here. So we were talking about super yachts.
Yes.
And I do notice something that occurs annually in Fort Lauderdale, where we have through the winter months, we are just inundated with super yachts. And then these summer months come, which is hurricane season, and then they all a lot of them disappear.
Yes.
So where are they going, and what is the reason for the exodus?
Combination of things. So a lot of super yachts charter, and this is not a very popular charter area during August and September. A lot of boats go up to New England. Some go all the way over to West Coast, and a lot of them go to the Med. So they call that the milk run.
The milk run, they do that. And isn't there something to do with the latitude? Something for insurance above a certain latitude, you can carry your insurance throughout the year?
So Caribbean is the no-no zone. I'm sure everybody remembers Irma from 2017, but really before then, everybody could get insurance in the Caribbean. Now it's almost unattainable.
Okay.
How difficult it is to get insurance in the Caribbean. So they come north at least to the Tropic of Cancer, and there are certain carriers that will do that. Then you go north or further up to North Carolina, and there's more carriers that will do that. And then if you're large enough to go, or you're willing to put your boat onto a ship to carry it over to the Mediterranean, then there's further discounts available. So the Med is very calm in the summertime, so it tends to be a better risk, although there's a lot of traffic over there. So you need people who know what they're doing.
Yeah. So you mentioned a lot of movement is occurring and choices for these vessel owners on where they're going to go. If you want to have coverage year round, but you want to stay. So we do have some of the larger yachts that do stay in port in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
You want to stay here year round. Is there an option to pay a premium for your coverage during these more, weather active months?
Yeah, it's a good question because again, it's size dependent. If it's a 100-footer plus and you've got 4 crew, the underwriters pretty much know you're going to have it well taken care of. The difficulty comes when it's an owner-operated private pleasure boat that the owner doesn't have a full-time crew, and those markets are they're very, very limited right now. So, and you can understand it if you were the insurer. The priority of the owner is not necessarily on that boat when they live in New York and the boat's down here and the storm's coming and
right,
whatever. So it's a difficulty, but we work through those things with owners. There's yacht managers who take care of the boats for those owners, and we try and find solutions, but they will pay as far as
That's why I said, I think the Hollover Park in Miami, I think if you're supposed to vacate these marinas, and the yacht owners are heavily fined if they don't move their vessels away from the marina.
Yeah, that was a law that occurred after Hurricane Andrew, because there were some marinas that said you have to leave, you're going to tear up our docks. And there were injuries and fatalities that occurred because of it. So it made sense for the marinas to not evict people before a storm. But they can hold you responsible for the damage your boat does.
It sounds like having a boat manager is the way to go when you achieve a certain size of vessel. So that's kind of a key component. With, securing your insurance, having the right person to select your carrier for you and getting you the best coverage. But then you're going to have a lot, predominantly in the Fort Lauderdale and Miami, we have a lot of waterfront homes where the vessel is actually behind the house. What sort of coverage or things do those owners need to know?
Yeah, there's everybody, I don't blame people. If I had a waterfront home, I'd want to have a boat back there as well, right? And just know what your plan is and be prepared. I always purchased hurricane haul-out coverage from a particular boatyard, Merrill Stevens.
Merrill Stevens.
Okay. And they would hold a spot for me so that I could haul out my boat if and when a hurricane came. So that forethought needs to go into every boater's mind when hurricane season is coming.
Let's take an example of, let's say you own a pleasure craft that's a 60-footer and the different options. Are there different pricings that occur for, let's say you have it in a dry dock marine facility, you have it behind your house, or you have it at a marina? Are there different discounts given based on the location of the vessel when it's not in use?
Yeah, that's a great question, because nowadays you have these what they call Cat 5 facilities, and Haulover is one of them, I think. They've got that indoor, beautiful building that you can keep your 45-foot Intrepid center console, which is almost $1 million or over $1 million, and it's fully enclosed inside that building and pretty much hurricane protected, unless the bad one comes, right? So that's a huge benefit to insurance.
Okay.
They will discount you quite a bit for being in a Cat 5 facility. The worst case scenario is, again, the absentee owner who just keeps it behind his dock and says, just not going to do anything.
We were discussing, so a lot of our waterfront homes, the vessel sometimes behind the home is valued at a higher rate than the actual home. So boat owners are very proud. They have a lot of investment in these vessels behind the homes and the protection for them. So in one neighborhood, Las Olas Isles, I've lived on several of the isles, and you do the cross-tying your vessel, turning it sideways on the canal, tying it off and everything else. But I really find in the boating community, it's a very tight-knit community, and neighbors help neighbors with their vessels. Plus, it's also beneficial. You want to make sure your neighbor's vessel is secured properly, because if it comes loose or whatever else, it's going to impact your vessel, and it can be a cascading effect. I think that having your plan even for behind your house, whether you're on a lift even, you should strap your vessel down onto the lift as part of the plan. And I understand something about bumpers, closing, the fenders being used to seal off the exhaust or something. Is that a thing?
I don't think that's the American Bureau of Yachting.
Okay, but utilizing vendors, very important thing, especially when you're getting out there. What other tips do you have or things for that boat owner seeking insurance on how to get the best discounts or other services that you all provide?
So there's quality of boats. There's hundreds of boat builders. And some are better than others. I mean, it's Rolls Royce versus the Kia, and if you buy a Rolls Royce, it's a preferred risk, because they know that, let's just put windstorm aside for a moment, that boat's going to hold up. It's going to be well maintained. It's going to be kept, by professional management or maintenance people. It's something you're going to take care of. So brand new or better build is preferred risk as far as insurers are concerned.
Okay.
When you get into the older boats, there are still pedigree vessels, the burgers, the fed ships, things like that. But if you get into some of those maybe Turkish or, some other brands that don't hold up, it makes it very difficult for insurers to go, oh, yeah, I really want to insure that 20-year-old boat.
Well, what I want to do for our listening audience and the viewing audience is, again, to reemphasize your experience in the industry and your knowledge of the local waterways and marinas and the providers here around, so that you're really a one-stop shop when it comes to, when they do buy that vessel. You should be one of the first phone calls to assist, because they are going to need to get insurance. They're going to need to find out about the boat and have a full survey done. And I'm sure you can help them with all of that.
We love to help with that. And, getting involved early hopefully helps the client make a good decision, just like you do. I mean, honestly, your knowledge and expertise happens before the deal even comes to fruition. We like to be involved at the beginning, but then once you've bought the boat, you've hired us for a year. So we're going to be helping you with that insurance, those problems as far as insurance are concerned.
So you're available for servicing and helping that client with all manner of getting everything ready for that first year of ownership.
As long as they want their insurance with us, we're there for them.
Okay.
We love to help, and as we've been talking about, they move.
Yeah.
They change, and captains change, plans change. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to boats and yachts, and we always try and help out.
I think that's great. Well, so Laura, I understand you are part of Newcoast Insurance. Can you tell me about Newcoast and the services that they offer?
Yes, I'd love to. So Newcoast is financial services, which includes lending and insurance. I run the Yacht Insurance division of Newcoast. So we provide options with all the American carriers as well as international carriers to find the best options.
For yacht insurance, am I
correct? On the yacht insurance side, yes. And so the reason why it's so important to deal with a yacht insurance specialist is that it's not homeowners. And so what can happen, it's a very limited marketplace, in especially in South Florida. So when you bring in a homeowner's agent or someone who's not familiar, their information that they provide to the underwriters clouds the underwriter's understanding of what is actually going on. And we like to be able to give a clear definition of who the owner is, why they're a good risk, and tell the story the way it needs to be told in order for the best options to be chosen for the client. And then work with the client as well in helping them make good decisions.
Well, having knowledge,
like you guys do.
And having knowledge of the industry and knowing how to communicate properly and what those underwriters are looking for. You know what they're looking for as far as the ability to get that owner insured.
Yeah.
And you know which carriers are going to be the best option for that owner. So I think that those are that's invaluable. So it's one stop where a new boat owner can go, or any boat owner looking to find the best option, or if they're shopping around, I would definitely call you guys. Newcoast has been around for a long time, is an industry leader, has you at the helm of their yacht insurance team with all of your vast knowledge. So I think call Newcoast or your insurance.
Yes, we're very glad to be associated with our finance people. They're all yacht and marine people as well, and that's a very small world as well on the finance side. So they access all the banks that provide marine lending. We on the insurance side, we don't just insure like very large yachts. We insure boats. We insure fleets of charter vessels and trip cancellation, which is actually charter's liability, and trip cancellation is a great option because just like when you're taking an airplane ride, your you're going to maybe buy trip cancellation coverage. Well, these are $500,000 charters. They're very.
And if a trip cancels, that's a huge loss of revenue for them.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So some great. I always love people that get into yachting via charter because they've had a wonderful experience. They begin to understand what owning a boat might be like, and they start to see the dream. I mean, it's actually the most wonderful thing in the world when you think about getting out on the water.
You mentioned something about the financing aspects, and I think that people that are looking to purchase yachts, having that as a different division as part of Newcoast is an interesting aspect as well. So they can come to you for financing as well as insurance.
Right. Yeah. I think that Newcoast is one of the only ones that has a finance and insurance side to it, and the lending aspect of it. A lot of times people just go ahead and buy the property or the vessel without financing, and then later on they go, oh yeah, I didn't really want to take all that money out of the market. I think I'll go get financing, and that's been a very common thread in how these loans are generating right now.
Okay. Very good. Laura Sherrod with Newcoast Insurance. It has been such a pleasure visiting with you today. I just hope that the listening audience understands that your expertise is par none, that they should be calling you, making you their first call, even before they come down here for the boat show, because I understand you do insure vessels not only here locally, but globally as well. So wherever the vessel is, even in that beautiful Mediterranean waters, you can insure those vessels as well. So please call Laura for all of your insurance needs. I do want to highlight, we are going to flip through and show you some pictures of the original RMK Merrill facilities where Laura actually grew up and as the first marine center in Miami, and just how the yachting industry has changed since then. And for all of your waterfront home needs, if you need a home for that vessel, please call us at the David Siddons Group. We can help you with that. For our upcoming podcast, I'd like to say for my part, and Fort Lauderdale, I'll be hosting Jenny Morajan. She's with the Downtown Development Authority in Fort Lauderdale. And following that, I will be meeting with another leading insurance advisor for home insurance as well as commercial, Mr. Mark Schwartz. I'm looking forward to those two interviews. And thank you again, Laura, for your time today.
Thank you. I absolutely love sitting with you, and obviously we love talking about this stuff. So.
We do, and the conversation will continue off camera. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more better decisions. Thank you.